Welcome to University Drive, your pathway to the transformational work of University of the Bahamas. Our goal is to build a better Bahamas by shaping tomorrow's leaders today, finding solutions to challenges, and forging new opportunities for growth. University Drive, where faculty, staff, students, and alumni travel the road of progress together with you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to University Drive. I'm your host, Tamika Lundy. Thank you so much for joining us. Our guests for this episode are three very special people at the University of the Bahamas. We have joining us today Mr. Dino Hernandez. He's the Vice President of Institutional Advancement and Alumni Affairs. We have the Director of Alumni Affairs and the Annual Fund, Mr. Elvardo Thompson. And we also have the Executive Director of Corporate and Foundation Relations, Ms. Kandice Eldon. Thank you all for joining us and being here for this episode, and welcome to the three of you.
Thank you, Tamika. It's good to be here.
Great to be here, Tamika. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamika. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. We are talking about advancement overall. We're talking about cultivating partnerships. We're talking about philanthropy, private giving, and how that works for the benefit or to the benefit of the university. And so when we say advancement, Mr. Hernandez, what exactly are we talking about? What do we mean when we say advancement, and particularly within the context of the university?
Oh, thank you, Tamika. Yes, advancement is an interesting term. And the easiest way for me to share this with all the listeners is that we advance the mission and the vision of the University of the Bahamas. That's why it's called institutional advancement. And within the context of what we're talking about today, especially, we can't do things alone. Tuition only covers so much in educating our Bahamian students. And so we rely on other parties to help us, our alumni and friends and our corporate and foundation partners, as well as our international foundations. So that's what advancement is in a nutshell, Tamika.
And of course, there are many of our listeners who should know that the mission of University of the Bahamas, really the essence of it is supporting and driving national development. And so, Mr. Hernandez, if you are the vice president then in charge of advancement, it means then that your area really has to be attuned, I would imagine, to meeting the mission through specific goals and knowing what those goals are and working closely in terms of helping the institution to attain those goals. And then I would imagine leveraging the support externally in support of that, right?
That is correct, Tamika. And we always plan for the unplanned as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. We're so grateful for folks in the past that observed sort of international events that impacted the university, unplanned events, whether the impact of Hurricane Dorian in September of 2019, and then 7 months later, scarcely 7 months later, the impact of a global pandemic and COVID-19 on what we have to do and change our mission in teaching our students in a virtual environment. So thank you to our past donors who helped us with technology, urgent needs and supplies, and even making sure our UB Cares pantry was well stocked. So thank you.
So we're going to get into that a little bit more specifically later on, but I just wanted to ask just one other question so that it can help us to set a proper context. Tell me about the division of institutional advancement then and how it's structured so that you can best achieve your goals.
No problem, Tamika. And part of our division's main focus is it's not just the fundraising and friend-raising arm. So we certainly have our development and grants arm here, our Office of Development and Grants. We have my colleagues who represent the Office of Alumni Affairs and Annual Fund and Office of Corporate and Foundation Relations. But your very area as well, Mrs. Lundy, the Office of University Relations, which handles all marketing, branding, public relations for our internal as well as our external constituents. So at every point, we are actually living, breathing, and implementing truly the mission and vision of the university in our division.
Mr. Thompson, you've joined us before, as you have also, Miss Eldon, and we've talked about the way in which you're executing your duties and also really the way in which you're cultivating relationships, right? For you, Mr. Thompson, directly and specifically, that's with alums. For you, Miss Eldon, that's with corporate and foundation relations. I know that these are areas that really take a lot of strategy. So let's start with the lady. Let's start with Miss Eldon. Tell us about corporate and foundation relations and what's been happening in that area when we talk about fundraising and friend raising.
Thank you so much again for having me. So the Office of Corporate and Foundation Relations really got into full steam in 2020 of January. And I want to thank Mr. Hernandez for having the oversight and the vision to create this department really specific to the needs of corporate Bahamas and foundations locally and internationally. We have been very busy in telling the story of UB to our corporate partners who we've had connections to in the past, and also establishing new relationships. As we know here in corporate Bahamas, many of our top CEOs, vice presidents, managing directors walk the halls of COB and UB and have a relationship and connectivity to our university, and their children even attend University of the Bahamas. And so we have been very, very strategic in our approach to let donors know from corporate Bahamas that the University of the Bahamas is in need. Our students is the greatest investment we could ever make when we talk about national development and building the Bahamas as we lean to our 50th anniversary of independence. We think about the future, and the future can only be bright if the students of today have the access, the tools, and the resources needed to thrive and to survive. So Ms. Bostwick and I, we are a team of two in the Office of Corporate and Foundation Relations, and we've really been very, very focused on talking to donors in corporate Bahamas as well as our foundations about giving in ways that directly impact students beyond tuition.
Mr. Thompson, you're in an area that I kind of envy, right? Because you're in an area where you get to deal directly with alum. And you were once a student at University of the Bahamas, if my memory serves me correctly. So it must be extra special for you to be functioning at UB in such a role, right? Tell us about some of the things that's been going on in terms of alumni affairs.
Yes, thank you so much, Tamika. Yes, that's correct. I have come full circle as a student and now as an employee of the university, more specifically as Director of Alumni Affairs and Annual Fund. And so I'm so excited to share just a little bit about what we've been doing in Alumni Affairs. Our main goal, of course, is to stay engaged with our alumni. Our main goal is always for our alumni to stay connected with the university throughout their lifespan. So we always say that at commencement, or even before commencement, once our students would have graduated, we always immediately tell them we want to stay connected with you as you go through your life and start your career and families. And so there are many ways we do that. One of the principal ways is, of course, through the university's Alumni Association. We have a very active alumni association that's been around for quite a number of years. We also have a regional chapter in Grand Bahama at our UB North campus. And so, yeah, that's one of the big ways we stay connected with our university, with our alumni. We also, in terms of engagement, one of our main goals in the Office of Alumni Affairs is to engage our alumni. And so those engagements happen through many different forms, whether it's through lecture series, whether it's through homecoming that we're actually planning for, which is next week, or whether it's through just our regular alumni mixers, mix and mingles, what we call them. And so those are some of the ways that we try to stay connected with our alumni. Another major tool is through social media and, of course, the alumni magazine, where we try to capture their stories. You know, we have so many alumni around the world that are doing so many amazing things that it's always good to capture their stories, whether it's in the magazine or the monthly alumni spotlight. So those are just some of the few ways that we engage our alumni.
Private giving, philanthropy. for me, I believe that it's still kind of a relatively new area for the Bahamas. So what have you been able to achieve over the last couple of years? What are some of the milestones? What are some of the things that you can share that the average person may not know when it comes to private giving and the work, the consistent work that has been happening, such that it has directly supported university building?
Yes, excellent question, and thank you so much for asking that question. So if you would have graduated from COB or UB, you probably sometime after graduation or within your lifespan would have received some written form of communication from us, from the university, or you might have received a phone call from one of our student callers. And so in terms of fundraising, one of the main tools that we use, or the main activities that we use to fundraise with our alumni and friends of the university is through our semi-annual telethon, what we call phonathon. So phonathon is where we recruit a bunch of student callers, and twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring semester, we call our alumni database, and we pretty much touch base with them, find out how they're doing, update our records, and then we also ask them to make a small donation to the university. And I'm happy to say that we've actually grown, and all funds raised from our phonathon go directly into the university's annual fund. And I'm very happy to share with the public that we've been able to grow the annual fund substantially through the past few years. I would say from when I started, the annual fund on an annual basis, we would have been grossing probably about a little over $30,000-$40,000. Now we're now into six figures. As of 2020, 2021, the annual fund has grown now into six figures. And so all those funds are directly from our alumni and alumni giving. So very happy to share with the public that information. And of course, the funds raised goes towards the university's annual fund, which of course helps to fund student scholarship and much needed repairs or purchase much needed equipment at the University of the Bahamas.
So without me asking you to reveal trade secrets, right? But I'm really interested in knowing what's the strategy to cultivate giving to the university, Dino and Kandice. What's the strategy? Because in my mind, people are giving towards the benefit of people and not necessarily a brick and mortar institution. Am I right or am I wrong? How does that work?
So actually, you answered your own question, Tamika, and I love what you just said. There's sort of a mantra we have in our profession, which is at the end of the day, people give to people. And I think it's important for us to show impact. My colleagues have done such incredible work, and we've communicated this in multiple publications. I mean, our OUR team pulled out the Alumni magazine, but even impact stories that appear in our development reporter. And it's important for folks to know that when you make a gift, whether it's to the UB Annual Fund, or you do something a little larger, like endowing a scholarship or supporting an academic program, you are supporting the people. You are making sure that Bahamian students get a quality education. They have the tools they need in hand to continue their studies and graduate with success and lead a wonderful life. And then the cycle continues thanks to Elvardo's hard work, where they think fondly of their alma mater and want to give back. And so that's ultimately the end of what we try to do, which is impact and share impact of people's philanthropy. Kandice?
And so from a corporate realm and standpoint, what excites members of corporate Bahamas when there is the prospect, the opportunity, the chance to work with the community, the university, and to support it? What's the excitement? What's the draw for them? Because I've been following the work that's been going on, and corporate Bahamas really seems to be engaged and connected with the university on several different levels. So what attracts them? What's the draw?
Investing in human capital is the draw, and seeing the benefit of education in their own lives and how education can transform the lives of young adults has really been the thing that has pushed corporate Bahamas into giving. Corporate and social responsibility is key for any entity to always have a give back arm. And we found in conversations with corporate Bahamas, like Elvardo and Mr. Hernandez would have said, they want to give back. They want to stay connected to their alma mater because we understand the investment in people. When UBFit was created in 2017, the connection was about health. The connection was about the national imperative when it came to communicable diseases and things that we can prevent ourselves. And the community rallied around that because health is so important. And again, it impacts people. The funds raised, as Elvardo would have mentioned, did go to the annual fund and has supported other ventures and things at the university that matter, including ensuring that those that have mobility challenges, that things are easier on campus. When you talk to corporate Bahamas, and what I've found is that they want to connect to things that make a difference. And so over the 5 years of UBFit, raising over $275,000, they want to know the money's going to students in ways that makes a difference, in ways that provides laptops when a student needs technology, when they have to work from home because we're in a global pandemic. They want to know that the money that we're giving, that they're giving, is helping to fill our pantry when students are hungry and need food just to get through the day. They want to know tangibly that if laptops are given, if books are given, if a knife kit is given to a culinary student, that it helps them become the top chef here in the country, which builds our economy. And so the sell is easy. It's just a matter of connecting, sharing the story, and showing the impact. For instance, we have a young lady by the name of Sierra Blair. You would have seen her in the news. The Nassau Guardian would have did a feature story about her. A bright young mind, talented, wants to be a chef. And now she's a J.S. Johnson scholar. J.S. Johnson has been a part of the University of the Bahamas fabric for many years through UBFit and through also this scholarship. And they could tangibly see the money that they're investing in a student like Sierra that's now shining and blooming and growing. And so, Tamika, corporate Bahamas is, from my perspective, very connected to UB. They want to be a part of us. They just need to know how to give. And I could say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because they are truly, truly showing over the past 2 years that I've been in this office that they're willing. They just need to be connected.
So sitting here and listening to you and listening to Mr. Hernandez and also Mr. Thompson, I am getting a sense of the cycle of impact. And even when I reflect, because I am also a very proud graduate of University of the Bahamas, it was the College of the Bahamas back then. But when I was a student at COB, I was the recipient of 2 scholarships, one from City Market and one from Borco. And of course, I successfully completed my matriculation, went on and did some things that I would like to think are good things, right, by any stretch of the imagination. Came back, and I'm now an employee of the institution, and I am also a giver to the annual fund. And so when you talk about giving that makes a difference and giving that makes an impact and giving to impact lives, I guess I am one of many examples of how giving has positively impacted an individual. And you can talk about so many other examples. You mentioned Sierra Blair, and I am sure that there are many, many other examples. So let's segue then into areas of need. What are and particularly as this month is a very special one for the university, because on the 10th of November, UB will be observing its 6th charter anniversary. And for the entire month, it's being observed as Charter Month. And so as the Day of Giving approaches, then what are the areas of need? What are the areas for giving so that our listeners might be inclined to give?
So I can take that question, Tamika. So here at the university, there are many, many areas of need. And the first off is, of course, for scholarships and student assistance. We still have many, many students that are in need, and more specifically, our Family Island students, who are, in most cases, always disadvantaged. And so one of the areas is, of course, scholarships and financial aid, as well as housing. You know, our Family Island students, most of the times, they don't have relatives or safe places where they can stay. And so by our donors and alumni donating, they're able to donate directly to scholarships and student aid, which will help our students. Also, there's the university's Greatest Needs Funds. You know, the university, we are a very much an aging campus, and so many of our buildings, of course, they need repair, and so there's the university's Greatest Needs Funds, where whatever the need is at that time, through the annual fund, will be assisted. So that's also a very good area for persons to donate to, as well as their individual faculties or schools. You know, we have many of our alumni, they that love to give back. They love to give back to their individual schools. And so one of the most biggest recipients is, of course, the business school, which of course everyone knows that we have a very good business program. And then as well as pure and applied sciences, the social sciences. There's so many areas, athletics. You know, we've also this year added the car center, one of our newest institutes. And I know VP can talk more about that, but that's also another area where persons can donate to as well.
And I'm happy you mentioned the car center with a focus on climate action and resilience, because that puts me in the mind of giving towards research as well. And I do believe, Mr. Hernandez, and we're going to get into that. You have been working with the Gerace Research Institute. And I know that research is also one of the areas that people can give to make a real difference and impact, is it not?
That's correct, Tamika, and everything that my colleague Elvardo just shared. These are important and ongoing needs. And the most exciting area is our newest strength, which is promoting faculty and student research, both within the Bahamas and internationally as well. And so we've gotten some wonderful support from corporate, foundation, and individual partners. The Gerace Research Institute just recently received an anonymous gift that supports its operations, but also promotes research. Bahamian students coming to San Salvador to do actual on-the-ground aquatic research. And we've also received some wonderful corporate support recently for our CCAR Center, the Climate Change and Resilience Research Center. And, you know, we are all impacted by global warming, all the more so being an island nation in the Bahamas. And it's important for us to lead the way where we can in not just promoting research, but promoting applied research that can share globally the need to make, you know, drastic changes to combat climate change. So I'm glad you mentioned that. It's one of the many areas, but even something as simple as supporting our UB Care student pantry or providing technology to our students. I tend to think that, you know, when you consider making a gift of any amount, any type, folks sometimes think that it's always, you know, a cash gift or writing a check. Sometimes it's easier for folks to actually make an in-kind gift, whether that's dropping off cans of food to UB Care's pantry and other household sundry needs that our students may be in dire need of, or providing technology. You know, we had a COVID-19 emergency relief fund, which expended about and paid for close to 100 laptops for our students. But when we made the call out to our student body for a need for technology, over 660 students, as well as some faculty and staff, applied for assistance. So the need is ever present and great. And again, you know, donors may restrict to any area on campus or to something very tangible, as well as make an in-kind donation.
So I also know that there is endowed giving, which is another area that a donor can direct their funding towards. Tell us about endowed giving, why that's important, and where does the level of giving stand right now?
No problem, Tamika, and obviously that's an area of growth for the university as well, and it's still fairly new. But I'm very pleased to share that we've had year over year increased giving towards endowments. So the way endowments work is an individual or corporate and foundation donor makes a gift of $25,000 or higher, and it's designated to a specifically named restricted account. If it's a scholarship, it's in perpetuity. In other words, the corpus or the principal that was funded with $25,000 is never touched. It's really the earnings on that principal that are used for the scholarship. The larger the gift, the higher the scholarship or program support. We can establish endowments in any area, in any department or program. And we can even establish for those that are interested, larger gifts that endow a professorship, endow a chair at the university. But again, endowments are important because it helps us. It's sort of the lifeblood of the institution. It maintains our operational excellence. And what's especially wonderful is that with our two international foundations, the Canadian Friends of UB Foundation, based in Montreal, Canada, and our newly established UB United States Foundation, based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, we can ask our international partners to make a gift through the foundation, set up an endowment, and also it's tax deductible in their host country, in Canada and the US. And it's managed and maintained by the foundation. So a very important type of giving, especially needed. And again, it can benefit any program or operational need on campus. So thank you, Tamika. That's a wonderful way for folks to consider giving to the university.
So let's get into then the plans for Day of Giving. And this is happening on the 10th of November, the entire day, a full 24-hour period of sustained, intentional giving that can make an impact and a difference in the lives of individuals, in the capacity for the university to meet its mission. What are the plans? What is the messaging? What is it that is important for people to know for this particular day?
As you would have mentioned, right off the heels of our phonathon, we're going straight into homecoming week and of course our charter day. And of course, Day of Giving is centered around UB's charter day, which of course is 10th of November, the date UB was established in 2016. And so this year will be our third annual event, our third annual Day of Giving. And so the Day of Giving for UB will serve as a platform for the university to stimulate fundraising across many sectors of our donors. In addition, it will also provide the opportunity for the university to expand its consistent effort of building a culture, like you would have mentioned, a culture of community and philanthropy through social media. We also, and as you would have mentioned, it's also going to be a 24-hour call that we want to inspire all of our alumni donors across locally and internationally. So that's and so of course on that day, there will be several ways or opportunities for persons to give and give back to the university.
Can you share how can an individual make a gift, a contribution to the university?
And so there are many ways to make a gift to university. We have several online platforms. And so one of them is the UB platform, which is persons can go at www.ub.edu/BS/giving. They can also make a gift through our Suncash portal. We have a charity account established at Suncash. So it's www.suncash.me/UB charity. And of course, there's also a GoFundMe page, and as well as Mr. Hernandez can talk more about ways that international US and Canadian donors can give. But those are some of the ways where they can give online. We would also welcome in-person gifts. There's also, if persons want to give cash, donate cash, they can also stop by our bookstore, Chapter 1 bookstore. We have an outlet there, what we call a drop box, or they can mail in their donations directly to the Office of Advancement Alumni Affairs.
This is actually a very good place for us to take our first break. You're listening to University Drive. We'll have more after this.
Chapter One Bookstore is your back-to-school headquarters. We are proud to serve the students, faculty, and staff of the University of the Bahamas and the community at large. We are the premier choice for the purchase of university textbooks and supplies, and UB logo apparel, paraphernalia, and gifts. We also carry a wide variety of school supplies, learning aids, and leisure books. Visit our copy center throughout the semester for all of your printing, copying, and binding needs. Chapter One Bookstore is located on the ground floor of the Michael Eldon complex. Call us at 397-2650 or email us at chapter1@ub.edu.bs. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Chapter One Bookstore. See you soon!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to University Drive. We are talking about giving that makes an impact, giving that makes a difference at the University of the Bahamas and in the lives of its students, and in the institution being able to meet its mission of supporting and driving national development. Our guests are Dino Hernandez, Elvardo Thompson, and Kandice Eldon, all in the Division of Institutional Advancement at UB. Just before the break, we were talking about the Day of Giving coming up on the 10th of November, which will be the 6th charter anniversary of University of the Bahamas. And I know that your role and realm relates to corporate Bahamas, Kandice, and I know that with the Day of Giving, it's a targeted time frame for individuals, for corporate Bahamas, corporate entities, organizations, alum, parents, supporters, and friends to give in order to make a difference and an impact. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Tamika. So the Day of Giving is obviously 24 hours of giving, and I think we're under the theme called Flourish. Together we flourish. And truly the corporate support from last year's Day of Giving is notable because Corporate Bahamas really believes in what UB is focused on. I know research is a big component of where the funds can go as a part of this year, but like Elvardo would have said, the university's greatest needs. Some of our corporate partners have said, Kandice, where can I be best used? And as simple as a meal card, a meal plan for students has been a tremendous support to some of our students that are challenged at home with maybe one parent only working or coming from a single parent family. And so Corporate Bahamas has begun to assist us in meal cards. Some of the money can be earmarked specifically for books, could be earmarked for a particular school or faculty where a corporate partner may have graduated from. And so we can tailor your giving to whatever area of interest you might have. As a company, sustainability may be something that you're passionate about. We're currently working with 2 donors right now that have said, we're big on climate change and sustainability, and we're so happy that you have the CCAR Center and that you have the sustainability program. We want to give toward that. And so in the Office of Corporate and Foundation Relations, we are here to meet with you, to talk with you, find out your interest, and there's always somewhere that you can give your funding. And so we're grateful, we're excited for this year's challenge. We're excited to see Corporate Bahamas. We already have our first $5,000 pledge. I'll let that company stay anonymous and we'll definitely shout them out on the 10th. But you can go ahead and reach out to us and say, we want to pledge this amount and we want to make it specific to that department, school, or area.
This is so exciting and encouraging. The fact that there are individuals and organizations who have continued to give, even though we have endured a period of calamities and difficulties and economic disruptions and shocks. The university has continued to receive giving from private givers. Why is that?
It's been interesting when we have needs and we communicate that out. I'm always almost every day, every week, every month, every year, just genuinely surprised by the kindness of others. And philosophically, this is what I believe, and I'm a Roman Catholic. I do believe to whom much is given, much will be required. And that's a phrase the Lord Jesus said himself, which is, if you have been blessed with talents, with wealth, knowledge, time, and the like, it is expected that we remember this and we benefit others. And it's just, in our profession especially, it's so wonderful meeting and knowing such kind people. And so I know there's many more out there who are listening in, but just not realize that, even a small gift can change a life dramatically. A meal card for a student, technology, anything that impacts a life in a different arc makes a difference down the road. And so again, to whom much is given, much is required.
I know a part of the effort that you put in your division is directed to foundation work. There's a US foundation and there's also a Canadian foundation. And I know that a lot of people may not know that these are also vehicles that can be used for giving. So share with us about that.
Absolutely, Tamika, and thank you for that. And so our Canadian Friends of UB Foundation was established over about 11 years ago, and they're based in Montreal, Canada. They're staffed by a board of directors, and I serve as their executive director, and I work with my colleagues to maximize Canadian citizens and corporate foundation support. RBC has been very, very kind to University of the Bahamas, and that was one of the early gifts through the Canadian Friends of UB Foundation. And then it was especially relevant what the support from Canadian Friends has been for both Hurricane Dorian relief and rebuilding, and also for COVID-19. And our newest foundation in the United States, our UB United States Foundation, it was actually being formed right before Hurricane Dorian hit us and impacted and devastated our UB North campus in Grand Bahama. And so the Internal Revenue Service fast-tracked our need, and it helped facilitate close to $500,000 in support for UB hurricane relief and rebuilding. And so both foundations serve as a great vehicle. Many donors don't know that if you have Canadian or United States citizenship, and you're supporting your alma mater or supporting the University of the Bahamas, it is fully tax deductible in both countries. And again, there are other ways that folks have made gifts. We had an anonymous donor recently make a gift of stock and transfer the stock to the University of the Bahamas United States Foundation to fund an endowment that benefited the Gerace Research Center. And so there are just many ways folks can support us, but we always like to mention this. And, November is an important time for us on many levels, not just our day of giving on 10th November, but we're also celebrating our third annual Giving Tuesday participation. So every last Tuesday in November since 2012 has been called Giving Tuesday. And it started off as a simple idea, a day that encourages people to do good. And it's grown year-round globally as a movement that inspires hundreds of millions of people to give, collaborate, and celebrate generosity. So again, during the month of November, our donors will have two options. In the Bahamas especially, our 24-hour day of giving on 10th November, but in the United States and Canada, participating in Giving Tuesday. And what's wonderful about Giving Tuesday in US and Canada is Facebook Corporation has a $7 million match, and they match dollars up to $7 million. And once that $7 million is expended, it's expended. And it starts at 8 a.m. on 29th November, 2022. So stay tuned, please. You can find our giving links on the International Foundation's Facebook pages, www.facebook.com/CFUB Foundation, and www.facebook.com/UBUS Foundation.
All very important information. I'm curious, when we think about all of the disruptions that have happened over the last couple of years, I'm curious about to what extent, if at all, has any of it caused a change in your strategy when it comes to really cultivating giving and philanthropy to UB? Have you noticed any differences? Have you had to change your approach in any way?
Absolutely, Tamika. And right now I see the trends. The COVID-19 pandemic dramatically changed the landscape for all of us in higher education advancement and fundraising, in that what we were used to in the past was oftentimes face-to-face and meeting people and directly asking them for donations. We've had to leverage technology dramatically. So, and everybody knows this, we went from typical in-person conversations to using Zoom meetings to streaming services and just interfacing with our donors on a different platform. And so what we've learned right now, and it continues to this day, is we will meet our donors wherever they feel comfortable meeting us, whether it's virtually in a virtual environment and facilitating conversations that way, making sure that they can make gifts online in a variety of platforms, but also just letting them know transparently, these are the needs of University of the Bahamas. And here's where we recommend your giving, but again, you're the donor. We will facilitate any of your gifts that support our academic programs and our people and students. And we just meet with them halfway, wherever they'd like to meet us. So I call it a multi-channel approach, Tamika, where we have different channels that folks can tune into and make good possible.
Speaking of the multi-channel approach, Mr. Thompson, I'd like us to focus on the annual fund as an avenue for giving. What is the annual fund, and how can people begin to give to the annual fund?
Yeah, so thank you very much, Tamika. So the annual fund is basically a fund where faculty, students, alumni, donors, friends of the university can donate directly to the university and donate to a specific cause or a particular school. And so those funds that would be donated will go into the annual fund, which is a restricted account. And so once they designate where they would like their funds to go to, that is exactly where their funds will be directed towards. For an example, I would have mentioned scholarships and student support. Also, there's the School of Pure and Applied Sciences. There's a School of Business, School of Social Studies. So once our donors indicate that they would like for those funds to go there, that is where their funds will go towards. And I can give you an example. If donors want to donate to, let's say, Pure and Applied Sciences, those funds will go directly to augmenting some of our labs, the chemistry or biology labs, where our students can be able to do experiments and, of course, go through their curriculum and successfully complete their curriculum and their studies. So the annual fund is a very, very good tool that the university has established for accepting gifts and for assisting whichever area that needs to be assisted. And I can tell you throughout the years, one of the areas that have benefited tremendously is our athletics program. Our athletics program, whether it's through uniforms or sporting equipment or to help fund travel so that our athletes can compete internationally, annual funds would have been throughout the past few years been able to assist our athletics program. So I'm very, very proud of the assistance that the annual fund has been able to lend to all of these areas on campus.
I'm glad you said athletics. We cannot possibly move on without talking about giving to support our student athletes. That's one of my favorite areas, and I don't mind saying it. And I know that we've had quite a number of donors who have given in support of our student athletes over the years. And I do believe that there are still opportunities for giving to that area, right?
Yes, that is so true. And UB, our athletes, they've competed on the international stage for a number of years and have excelled. And I know you and I, as well as Mr. Hernandez and Ms. Eldon can even mention some of them. First one that comes to mind is an athlete like Ken Munnings. All of our athletes would have benefited tremendously. It's very, very expensive for universities to run athletics program. And the universities in the States, they have the benefit of they have the benefit of being funded by whether it's state lotteries and football programs or basketball programs, but we don't have that luxury. And so the support that our donors are able to give to the annual fund to help support our athletics program has really gone a very, very long way. So I say thank you to all of our annual fund and university donors.
I would just like to chime in here too, Tamika, and say athletics is very near and dear to my heart as well. We can tangibly see how a student athlete has to operate in order to be optimal on the field or the court. They also have to take care of their academics. And so there's always a need for corporate Bahamas and foundations and individuals to think about athletics because it's nation building as we look toward the Carifta Games next year, our 50th anniversary, as we look toward sporting events that highlight our swimmers and all these amazing athletes. Funding is so critical. One trip can cost a federation $50,000, $100,000 just to get our students exposure. And the same thing at University of the Bahamas. In order for our athletics director, Ms. Kim Roll and Sean Bastian and their team to get students to travel, it's a huge undertaking financially. So if we could get corporate Bahamas to wrap their arms around athletics, there's a need for them to have exposure. There's a need for them to have travel. They need new uniforms. They need new shoes. The gym needs more equipment so that they can have strength training. Our trainers, our athletic trainers need medicine and wraps and ice. And just the need is so great within athletics that it's a story that we can always tell, and we can talk about the Juliana Duncansons from shot put and javelin. We could talk about Ken Mullings. We could talk about Ashley Ombler and these amazing young men and women that sacrificed to wear the Mingo's brand. If we can get our community to again give to them, even on Day of Giving, any amount will make a tremendous difference.
And it's important to remind folks of that. We've spent a lot of time up to now talking about private giving in terms of the tangibles and the giving of dollars and cents, but there's also the university, I believe, is also welcoming giving in terms of friend raising and lending of your time and your connections to help the institution to grow, right?
Oh, absolutely. We have an upcoming lecture series, our Emerging Leaders Lecture Series in January, hosted by RBC. And we have Lasanya Misak, the managing director, who's going to come and talk about the changing landscape of entrepreneurship. And she's lending her time to share with our students, look, if you want to go out into entrepreneurship in 2022, it's different than what it looked like in even 2018. And so we have a wealth of corporate partners and individuals that have so many skills and talents and giftings that we're willing to say, please come to campus, do a lecture, do a walkabout. We just had Patrick Ward from Bahamas First. He was a part of the career symposium and got to share about the insurance agency and making insurance sexy again, and trying to entice students into that career that he came up through the ranks. And so we have a lot of donors that, like you said, Tamika, can give not just the dollars and cents like Mr. Hernandez would have talked about, but also giving of their time, giving of their knowledge. All of us can recall an internship that changed the trajectory of our life. That person that spoke into us, that person that said, I believe in you. You have a talent here. Let me fine tune you. Let me work with you. And a part of our pitch when we talk about beyond tuition with our corporate partners is internship opportunities. Getting our students' hands wet into their field of interest can make them, the light bulb come on for them in a way that reading it in a textbook can never do. And so I say, thank you to all of our partners, our friends who have connected to say, I'm going to lend my expertise, my knowledge, my trials, my errors. I'm going to share that knowledge with our student body so that they can become the leaders of tomorrow. And it like you said, the giving is all around. We need it and we're grateful for it.
You're quite right, especially when you talk about the internship opportunities, the opportunities for professional development, for personal development, for even mentorship, for connections with our alum. We have myriad successful hugely successful alum out there who can come back to their alma mater and pair with a student or a school or a college and work with them to provide professional development, personal development, mentorship, like I spoke about. I believe that there was also a corporate donor who made attendance at a hugely successful conference available for scores of students. I know as well that there was another donor who made it possible for some students to get exposure at Expo 2020. And so the opportunities are vast.
Yes, they really are. They really are. And again, thankful to Corporate Bahamas for inviting students, and especially in our business arena and in our culinary arena, to get exposure to individuals in the international space that are doing well, to inspire and to encourage our students to aim high. We have some amazing alum. I mean, when you think about the likes of, Fred Paul, I mean, Elvardo will say, he's phenomenal. He's one of those alum that we should always keep close to us because he's so well connected in the architectural realm and making a huge impact in the United States. We had him as our commencement speaker a few years ago, and he passed on his knowledge to the graduating class. And so again, it's about transformative leadership. It's about the narrative of UB showing beyond these walls what you can do. You can do anything that you put your mind to. And we have alum, we have corporate partners and friends that are doing that can truly, truly inspire our students to aim high.
Absolutely. And I always tell our guests when they join me on University Drive, it's amazing how time just flies. And so as we begin to wrap up now, I want to offer to each of you the opportunity to give us your closing comments. Let's start with you, Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, Tamika. When we talk about philanthropy and volunteerism and supporting University of the Bahamas, it's really a simple idea if you think about it. Whether it's making someone smile, helping one of your neighbors that attends UB, or a perfect stranger out, just a student you don't even know, showing up for any issue or for the people you care about, giving some of what we have to those who need our help. Every act of generosity counts. And everyone has something to contribute towards building the better world, a better Bahamas, and a better university we all want to live in. Thank you, Tamika.
And Elvardo Thompson.
Okay, yes, thank you, Tamika. So I would just like to invite all of our alums, donors to join us once again this year for our third annual Day of Giving. The Day of Giving will serve as a platform for UB and our UB community to continue to grow our culture of philanthropy and community spirit and togetherness. So it's a perfect opportunity for all of us to come together and celebrate UB's Charter Day, which of course is on November 10th. And so once again, just like to invite everyone to join us and participate in this Day of Giving. There's tons of ways where persons can participate, as well as they can donate to the university and to the various areas of need that we may have. And so thank you for this opportunity, and just looking forward to once again having a successful Day of Giving, and of course a successful homecoming week and Charter Day. Thank you.
And Miss Eldon.
So together we flourish. Together we can do so much. We cannot live in a vacuum. We are not an island unto ourselves. We are a part of community, and the University of the Bahamas community is strong. We have so much to celebrate. We have amazing faculty, staff, and students, alumni, and friends. And so I want to say thank you on behalf of the Office of Corporate and Foundation Relations. Thank you for your dedication to our community, helping our students in tangible, real ways. The Beyond Tuition pitch is real. There's ways that you can help a student beyond the tuition. And so we just want to say thank you. If there's any questions you might have, you can always reach out to me and my team. We are ready to serve you. We're ready to work with you and to help you give in a way that makes sense for you, your company, and for the country. So thank you so much for Tamika for having me.
What is how does a person connect if they want to have a conversation about giving?
Well, for me, if you want to reach out to the Office of Corporate and Foundation Relations, you can always email me at Kandice, kandice.eldon@ub.edu.bs. You can call me at 424-8887 or our main email box, cfr@ub.edu.bs.
And Elvardo, how would alum who want to give connect with your office?
Yeah, so they can also they can call me directly. My number is 302-4303, or they can email me. My email is my first name, Elvardo, ELVARDO .Thompson @ub.edu.bs. They can also visit any of our social media handles, whether it's through the Alumni Affairs Facebook page, the Alumni Association's Facebook page, as well as the Alumni Affairs Instagram page. Well, we were very active on social media, and so they can follow us through any one of those channels.
And Dino, particularly if it relates to any of the foundations and any other matter under your realm.
So I can be reached easily, Dino, D-I-N-O, Hernandez, HERNANDEZ, @ub.edu.bs. In the United States or Canada, feel free to call 248-390-3307. In the Bahamas, 242-376-2173.
Well, thank you to the three of you for joining me for this episode of University Drive. I have found that this has been a hugely constructive conversation, and I think that our listeners have appreciated the information that you've shared with them. Thank you all, listeners, for joining us for University Drive. I've been your host, Tamika Lundy. Join us again next week for a new episode of University Drive. University Drive is a production of the Office of University Relations and the Communications and Creative Arts Academic Unit at University of the Bahamas. All rights reserved.